Perfect. I think we can get started.
Okay. Well, yeah, we've got kind of a full house, so we have the lines muted. Thank you everyone for attending this morning or this afternoon. We have Dennis with us, and he's going to be walking us through Sage MyAssistant, one of my absolute favorite tools for automation and streamlining processes with Sage 300 CRE. If you're already a user, you're going to see some new features and what has been released recently. And if you have not used MyAssistant before, stick around because we are going to show some really cool things and talk about some ways that clients are using it today to help improve their business processes. So with that, Dennis, I will go ahead and kick it over to you. We can see your screen. I think we're all set.
Okay, thank you very much. As you mentioned, my name is Dennis Earnshaw. I'm actually with the development team of Sage MyAssistant, and so got the opportunity to talk to you folks and share what's new for the folks who have the software, and really what's new for those who haven't had the software. I'm just going to go through a couple PowerPoint slides really quick. I know you guys want to get in the software as soon as we can, but I just want a couple PowerPoints as far as agenda goes. Most of the time is going to be spent reviewing the software. As far as questions go, there are breaks in here for questions. I believe they mentioned that the lines are muted. I'm not familiar with WebEx, but I'm assuming there's some sort of chat capability.
Yes, we do have, there is a chat capability, and anyone can enter questions, and you can share them with everyone, or they can just go to the panelists, either way, but we can address those as they come in. I did have 2 people write in that they are MyAssistant users, because I didn't really know what I was doing with that little poll. So.
You had 2 people write in that said they are MyAssistant users?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, great. So I can't see the chat, so if you guys could, if someone from Action can interrupt me at some point and tell me the chat, then that'd be great. I'm not a WebEx expert, so
absolutely, yep.
That'd be wonderful. One thing real quick, just to give, this is something that I like to share with folks, just something to think about on the MyAssistant front. And this led into the last release, enhancement release of MyAssistant. And I don't know if you guys have all noticed, but in the last, I don't know, 5 years or so, we've changed as to how we consume information. We've become, we have pretty short attention spans. I don't know if you've ever noticed. I'm a bit older. I remember the days of newspapers when there was big, long articles. Now there's maybe 2 paragraphs in an article. We want the highlights, we want the current issues, and we want it pushed to us. We have definitely become a notification-oriented society. It doesn't matter whether it's, hey, you have a doctor's appointment tomorrow, to Windows has a notification option built right into the taskbar, to your accounting system. So this is something that I like to kind of just mention to folks, because the people in your organization aren't different, right? They want to receive information in small little bites and push to them as to what they need to know. Now, that does lead into MyAssistant, and what MyAssistant does, for those of you that are current customers, you probably know this, it basically monitors your business activity in Sage. It really can be about anything. There's about a little over 2,400 Sage 300 customers using MyAssistant right now. And you guys have been unbelievably creative. We get a chance to talk to a lot of customers, a lot of people using the software, seeing the different ways they use the software, and it's been fun for us as developers to see the creativity. The best thing to do with MyAssistant, I'm going to actually just pop ahead a couple slides here, is to think of it this way, is to think of making your Sage software more intelligent, and think through your various processes, whether it's setup. I got an email yesterday. Someone wanted to be told when somebody changed the banking information on an employee. So it could be information missing from setup, like setting up a job or an employee or vendor, information that you need to have, or it could be when somebody changed information. Entries. Lots of customers are auditing entries, so I entered an invoice and I didn't put a job on it and I hit a WIP account, or I didn't put a commitment on the invoice and there's a commitment out there for that vendor. Time entry, you know, we didn't get 40 hours for this employee this week. We just think of auditing your setup entries. And then think of your different workflows, you know, everything around payments in cash, employees, accounting controls, management, cost. The key, people ask me, what's the best way to get started with MyAssistant? Who's been most successful with MyAssistant? And it's really clear. And it's those who start by building a list. So what they do is they build a list of possible notifications, possible ways they want to push information out to, whether it be employees, vendors, customers, what have you. And then after they have the list, then they worry about setting it up in MyAssistant. Don't mix those two processes. If you're a current customer and you don't have a list, I'd encourage you to go back and build one. Will you build all the items on the list? Probably not. Will you build more than you think? Probably. So that's a real key to a first step on using MyAssistant. So I'm going to just give you a few examples here. This is my inbox, or this is one of my folders, my inbox, of the kinds of things that we see people doing. You know, you can, simple things like jobs that haven't been billed, you know, a little tiny report in the body of the email, or, you know, invoices over a threshold. I'll go through and show you guys this in more detail. There is a new workflow now in 22.1, version 22.1 of MyAssistant. We're seeing more and more people send out spreadsheets with MyAssistant. So here's an example of an AR aging detail spreadsheet. This is a pre-built spreadsheet in the software. You can use, modify, what have you. It mimics the AR aging in Sage. One of the reasons that people do this is that the AR agings in Sage take a little bit of a time to run. This is a little bit faster and so forth. Tons and tons of folks are sending reports out. This is just a canned report out of Sage that didn't have any information to print. So you can condition that. But the reports on your menus today can be generated out. What a lot of people are using MyAssistant for today, I'm going to go in here, are things like pay stubs, right? So sending out direct deposit notices to employees, to electronic payment remittance advice to vendors. This is the pre-built one that comes with the software. That's a real common use today, high value proposition. Here's an example of the AP invoice remittance advice here that could go out to vendors here. And this is just the sample. As you guys may or may not know, you can control the format of what this looks like, put your logo on it, change the layout. This is actually done with a report design. MyAssistant comes with a report design, but you can use your own, modify ours, what have you. So lots of ideas. In fact, one of the things with 22.1 is there's a new idea service that we're about to kick off that people will get a monthly email if you subscribe to it, where you will get ideas from us that we see how people are using MyAssistant. So start by building that list. Okay, so now setting it up in MyAssistant. This is the designer. This is where you set up these things we call tasks, like giving your MyAssistant a task. It's something that it will then sit on your server and do for you. The system comes with a whole bunch of pre-built tasks. I'm going to show you setting up a new task because this changed quite a bit in this last release. So setting up a new task got quite a bit easier to do. So let's say I want to just do something real simple, like get a list of cost codes for active jobs that either don't have an estimate or have an estimate and have cost hitting it or are over budget, what have you. So now the way task setup works is you can say, do you want to send a list of notifications? That's that report in the body of the email. Do I want to send a spreadsheet, a report as a PDF, or each person their own reports or documents like pay stubs or vendor vendor remittance devices or AR statements or SM invoices, that kind of stuff. I'm going to just send a list of notifications. And then here is what do I want a list of out of Sage? And so we have this new frequently used option because the Sage database is quite large, lots of information. We kind of boiled it down to the most common things people use. So if I want to get a list of cost codes, and then how do you want to filter that list? In other words, what should my assistant look for in Sage? Should I look for, cost codes that are in progress, over budget by a specified amount? These are pre-built conditions. Think of this like a condition you use when you run a Sage report. I'm going to do a new condition for you. The easiest thing to do would just grab one of these. But I want to show you how this process works now. So this changed in this last release, and it's quite a bit easier to use. At least we think so. What you have here is it's really English-like. So I can say I want to see a grab a field out of Sage. Now this is the information you've entered in Sage, right? So I want a field maybe where I only want cost codes, or maybe I want only where the job status. I only want in progress jobs, let's say. Okay, so I go down here and I find the status. I can type in status right here if I want. And it will search the Sage fields for me. And I want to say status is equal to, and we'll show you what the possible statuses are. So I only want jobs that are in progress. Okay. And now maybe I only want cost codes that have a budget or don't have a budget, either one. Okay. So I can go in here and I can pick what I want and really use search here. Search is your friend. There's a lot of information in Sage to find. And so if I go with the total estimate, maybe I'll say the total estimate equals 0. Now I can change this here to be, there's all these operands. This is new, how this works. And if I want to see what that list would look like, I just hit preview right now, and it's going to go through and find me cost codes where there isn't a budget for them. Okay. But maybe I also want cost codes where there isn't a budget and have cost on them. So I can add a row, and hopefully you're getting the idea here. And I can type in cost here to kind of guess what the field may be. Maybe our job to date cost is greater than 0. And away I go. Okay, I can refresh the list now. And that's my list. If I were to run this right now, this is what somebody would push out to somebody in my company. So you can get quite sophisticated with this. There's even some nice cool things with dates now. So let's say you want to say, I'm going to add a row. I'm going to say maybe only jobs that had cost in the last 7 days. So I can go in here into the cost code again, and I can say, I want a date now. I want to say last cost update. And notice my operands now here are going to be things like is today, is yesterday. It's real English-like. It is, in the last specified days, the next specified days. There's lots and lots of these. We programmed in, there's like 75 of these functions or operands, or call it what you want, that will automatically go back and look at things for you. So I can go back, say, in the last 30 days and see what my list is now. Well, there's none. So the condition tool Pardis has set up has been completely revised in 22.1. The customers on the phone, I'd highly recommend you go to 22.1. You don't have to upgrade Sage. You can run any version from 20.0.3 forward with MyAssistant 22.1. Okay. So now what I can do, I'm going to take that item off. There's this. The rest of the task setup, I can schedule it here if I wanted to, check this certain days of the week or what have you. And then now in the email step is where I go in and I can define the list in the body of the email. So it pre-filled some information for me here based on my condition, and I can add additional fields as well here. So if I wanted to see the project manager, I wanted to see you know, something of that nature. I can come in here and grab, you know, other information and drag it here to the list. One thing that you current users may not be aware of is you can group this information. So if I throw the project manager up here, now in my list, it's going to group everything by project manager, sort it by project manager. So I can do that as well. I also can do totals here. So if I right click down here, I can add a sum, I can count, I can do all sorts of things and do totals in my list as well. So that's something for you current customers that may not be aware of that. I give it a subject. I can put a 2 in here and one more step or just some options, and then that's it. I'm done. Okay, so that's the hardest way to set up a task in MyAssistant. I'll show you the easiest way in a second here, but basically I do that. It just ran. It shows me, you know, sorted by project manager here. I could have put the job description, the job name. I could have put that additional information in the list as well. But setting up tasks in 22.1 got a lot shorter, a lot simpler for you folks. Now, one of the questions we get pretty frequently is, how do I filter the information just for each person? And the way that happens, I'm going to open the task back up here, is you go to the email step and you use this thing called an email directory. And if you hover over it, it kind of explains that. I don't know if you'll see in the tooltip on your side, but email directories are used to filter information per recipient. So by doing that right there, what this will do is this will look up the project manager's email address for each of the cost codes, job/cost codes that met the condition. So then it would send each PM just their information. In this case, it's as simple as the cost codes, but this could be a full-on cost report or a buyout variance, or, I mean, just here again, back to let your imagination go. This email directory concept works the same thing for sending out, you know, each employee their pay stub, or each, you know, vendor their insurance request letter, what have you. So you just grab your email directory, MyAssistant, and then we'll automatically filter it for you. Now that's the filtering happens with those spreadsheets and with the you know, lists in the body of the email. Reports are filtered using prompt fields on the report. Okay, so just you take that away. You filter automatically with the email directory on the lists and the spreadsheets. You filter reports with the prompts in the report. How are we doing, folks? Am I too fast, too slow? Is this stuff you already know? Any questions?
So no questions in the question box right now. I think you're going at a good pace, not too fast, but please, the attendees, please do speak up if he's going a little fast, or if there's something that you have a question about, please do type that in the chat.
Yeah, I'm monitoring the chat, so please go ahead and add anything that you would like to ask.
Thank you. So, okay, so that's sending a list. Let's say I want to send somebody a letter. Okay, so let's say I send a letter. What I could do is I can come in here. Let's say I've got this vendors with expiring workers' comp insurance, and I want to send each vendor a letter requesting a new cert. So here's the condition, you know, active vendors, workers' comp is required, the date is blank, or the date is, you know, older than that. So when I go to this step here, instead of sending a list in the body of the email, what I can do is I literally can go open a Word doc if I wanted to, or I could type it. I'm kind of lazy. I'm going to do a Word doc. And it pre-fills the document in the email message for me. Okay, so it pre-fills the document for me. And now what I can do is I can drop in information out of Sage. So let's say I wanted the company name right here, and it's going to do a mail merge for me. Now, remember I said it filters the content if you use an email directory. So I'm going to go back here and use the vendor contact one email directory, which would look up a filled in, you know, an email address out of the vendor setup. And I can come in here and put in information, like maybe I want the date this insurance is going to expire. And so I could find the insurance expiration date here. I forget what this was, workers' comp. And so I'll go down here. There's workers' comp. Well, if I do date, you got to sometimes finding information. Like I said, the Sage database is huge. And it's right there, expiration date. So it just drops it in and will mail merge it for me when it creates the letter. So this is a simple letter. You could go, really far. You could come in here and put a signature line in, your logo, what have you. And then what will happen is it'll generate something that looks like, I think I have an example here. It may be something like this. This one's kind of a bad example, but notice it put in the vendor name and it put in their date. I could have, a signature line down here. I could have attachments on this of your insurance requirements, what have you. You also can do letters that look like this. So here's a letter this is a pre-built task in MyAssistant that has tables and it'll drop in information out of in this case, the vendor setup with information on their various types of insurance. So you can list information in the body of the email. Or if, like say invoices, you may have customers that have sent customer invoices and said, hey, we want to verify that you received these following invoices. And you could actually include the list here in the body of the email. When I say the list, I'm referring to this list right here. I can actually include this in the body of an email if I wanted to.
Dennis, we have a question. We've got a couple questions. The most timely one for what you're showing is, do you find that people that use these automated emails to external parties like subcontractors, insurance brokers, do they get stuck in their spam filters?
They can, and I'll show you a couple tricks on that. The answer is yes. What you can do in MyAssistant is you can go in and have multiple from addresses. Okay, and I only have one right now set up, but when you set up this is the server setup screen here in MyAssistant. And when you go to email accounts, I can put in multiple email accounts here. Okay, so I can come in and I'm just going to put a silly one in here, but let's say it's somebody in the organization they have worked with before. Let's say it's, Joe or Sam or what have you. I could put in multiple email addresses here. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to cancel that. And then when I go to the task setup, I can indicate who it came from. Okay, so that's one way. The other thing that because once the recipient has the contact in their Outlook or their mail system, chances are they're not going to go to junk or spam. Or if they go once, you can have your vendors or your customers say, make me a safe sender, what have you. So, but yes, it can happen. Going with a from address helps alleviate that. The other thing you can do is if you don't have from addresses, you can do a reply to. So let's say this comes from just a generic, MyAssistant at abccompany.com, but when people reply, you want it to go back to Sally. So even though it came from, a generic email address, when they hit reply, it's going to go back to this email address right here. And this is on a task by task. So insurance may go back to Sally, HR issues may go back to Joe, what have you. So the reply to can vary and the from can vary on each single task. That's a great question, by the way. Any others? Okay. Okay, cool. So that's an example of letters or that in the body of the email. Another example might be, let's say you want to send a spreadsheet. So let's say I wanted to send this cost codes over budget, or it could be any list, but I don't want to send it. I don't want to send it in the body of the email. I actually want to send it in Excel. So what I can do, and this, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, oops, wrong task. What I can do is I can open this task back up, and down at the bottom of the screen here where I defined what was going in the body of the email. So this right here defines that table in the body email. I can say use that and create a spreadsheet template for me. So MyAssistant has a whole spreadsheet template designer built into it. A lot of people aren't aware of this. And here it is. Okay. So, and it created a spreadsheet template. So now if I run it right now, I'm going to get that, now I can change this right now. I can change my headings, add columns, put rows in, change my totals, what have you. But when I go to save and close it now, it's going to ask me to name it. I can name whatever I want. I can save it to a place on a shared folder. I was talking to a customer last week. They're actually just using MyAssistant to generate a whole bunch of reports, and they're saving the reports out to a shared drive. They use SharePoint from Microsoft, and people can access the reports from outside the office via SharePoint. And now if I save this, and even if I put in a email directory here, it will filter the content of that spreadsheet for each recipient for me. Okay, so now it's going to send me a spreadsheet instead of the list in the body of the email. Type in my name here. This is my email address. And if I don't want to send that in the body of the email, I just uncheck this box at the bottom. Okay, so generating spreadsheets now, you can do it from scratch, or the easiest way most people are doing them is they just drag information over here from the, this list is your Sage database on the right. They drag it over here, and then they just say create spreadsheet template, and then away you go. When you run and send that, you'll get a spreadsheet template. You'll get a spreadsheet versus a list in the body email. So 22.1 got quite a bit simpler. One thing to make you guys aware of, that you folks that are current customers, when you went in to activate, there's this new option here, send me ideas on using MyAssistant. If you want to receive emails from us on tips and ideas and so forth, go in and check that box. When the software gets activated, we'll be activated, and it'll let us know that you want to receive information on on ideas and so forth on how people are using MyAssistant. Okay. Last thing kind of to cover is reports. Most people are pretty familiar with this today, but you can generate any sort of report out of MyAssistant. So there's something real simple, like there's a pre-built task to just send a report. So if I go in here and I select, send a report, I can just grab this guy right here. I can open it up. The condition is just always true. But on this step right here, I can go in and attach, any of my reports, right? So these are my reports off of my menu in Sage, all your custom reports, they're all going to be here. This is going to be your reports menu that you see with your groupings and your reports and what have you going out. So if you wanted that report right there, I would just grab it like that. And then it's going to open up a little window here and say, okay, how do you want the prompt filled? The questions you get asked when you run a report, how do you want those filled in? How do you want the report named? Any sort of dates on the report? And what file? These are, if you're running reports in Sage, you're familiar with these prompts. And that's it. When I generate this, it will send me a report in a PDF attachment. So.
And Dennis, we did have somebody who wanted to confirm that they can have a financial statement automated out.
You cannot. That's a great question. I wish we could. Sage doesn't provide the ability to automate that. So if you're using the financial statement designer, there is no way to automate that outside the Sage software. I wish we could. I worked for Sage for 21 years, actually Timberline in those days. And when we built that, there's no way to automate that. So I'm sorry, that you can do any reports or reports menus, you can't do financial statements. Sorry about that. I wish we could. Any other questions? Hopefully I can say yes to it.
Yeah. I thought that one was a yes, but I was wrong.
It's technically not possible.
Gotcha.
And there's a long story behind it. I was on the development group for AP, AR, job cost, payroll, report designer, a bunch of the apps, but that one we had a rogue group. So
Yeah. So should we speak to some of the reports that people are typically sending out? Like one I hear a lot is project managers need to see a report on their open jobs every Monday when they walk in the door. They need to have that in their hand.
Yeah, so it is. So we see a lot of people send pay stubs. We see a lot of people see project reports. So if you want to go in and just send your PMs a report, there's even a pre-built task here to go in and just send each project manager, their reports, and a ton of this, you just go in, use an email directory, select the report you want, and you're done. And then if you want to do multiple of these, you can just copy these tasks. You go in here and you say, copy the task, and I can, this is my project manager receivables report. This is my PM AP open invoices or commitment ledger or what have you. Lots and lots of reports. Lots of reports. We actually did a study last year, and we can see kind of, we got to be able to see surveys from customers and what they were using, and there was about over 70,000 active tasks running at the time we did the study. So the point about imagination and letting your imagination go is I can't emphasize that enough. We see people just getting, these are the employees' birthdays this week, this month. Here's employees' anniversary dates. I mentioned the one about tell me when something changed in Sage. Tell me when a pay rate changes. Tell me when a banking information changes. Tell me when a vendor address changes. Somebody's, from an audit standpoint. Any sort of missing information in setup. Customers have been really creative, really, really creative. Anything someone's hoping to do that they...
Yeah. If there's something that you're wondering if it can be done, or, you have a creative idea, please throw that in the chat. We would love to hear what your thoughts are, and how we can help you out with automation and reminders.
Well, on the automation front, the other thing that we're starting to see more of as well is people generating CSV files. Working with a client actually out of Hawaii, they were doing two things. It was quite interesting. One, they were doing a positive pay. So when they cut checks in AP, it generated a file that was sent to the bank. And then the bank only cleared those checks. That was one. The other one was they were using some system for certified reports. And they were generating a file that was uploaded to this system, something to do with certified reports. I don't know if it was a government agency that required them electronically or what have you, but they were doing that as well. Talked to a client in Chicago last week that were generating certified reports. So at the end of payroll, hit a button, all the jobs that needed certified reports, and automatically created them and then filed them to a folder. Remember, you can save these reports to a folder on your server there. So they were doing that. I thought that was pretty cool. So I just saw something pop up. What resources are available to help you get started? Did I know if I saw that correctly?
Yep.
There's a variety of them. Number one, there's a YouTube channel. So here on YouTube, there's a variety of videos that are available. I went to file, but there's a training channel here of how to do various things with MyAssistant. I know people don't like help, but we actually totally revised help in this last release, and we hope we made it much more helpful, no pun intended. And you're going to see this greatly enhanced again in about a month, because we got 22.2 coming out, and we put a bunch more into help on how to do things. There's a user guide that's available in the system. There is your local consultant can help you. There is even a need help button here in the software. If you need help, you can do this, and this goes actually straight to the developers, and developers will answer that for you. So there's Sage support, Action training consultants. There's a ton. Even if you just went to YouTube and typed in MyAssistant, just if you went to a browser here and went to YouTube, there's tons of videos out here on MyAssistant. So if I go to YouTube here and I type in, so I'm just going to type in MyAssistant. This will be interesting.
Yeah, this is a platform that's very quick to get up and running. I think it's fairly intuitive and simple to learn. So you see, a return on your investment really fast because you instantly start getting those reminders, notifications, auto deliveries really quickly with, and there's a lot of free resources out there, like he said, on YouTube and in their help menu. And our consultants at Action are familiar and would love to work with you as well, help you get your first couple reports set up, get you trained so that you can take over and keep managing it and adding and growing, just like our other existing MyAssistant clients.
What most people start with are the pre-built tasks here. So if vendors open invoice to commitments, you can go in here and just activate these. And I apologize for not showing that earlier. You can go in and activate the pre-built tasks and kind of see how we set them up. Now there's quite a bit on this one, but as you start going through this, you'll get it. And so what they'll do is they'll go in and create a pre-built one, send it to yourself, put your email address in here, see what it looks like, and then go back and change it and say, okay, this looks great. Now I want to open this up, but I only want to change the condition to do this, or I want to see this in the body of the email, or I want to attach this report. So they'll use the pre-built tasks. And I think we ship, don't quote me on this, but like 240 of the over 200 pre-built tasks for you that you can activate, play with, copy, what have you. So that's the fastest way that we see people get going. So good question. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I hope this was worth your time. Hope for you folks that have the software, saw something new. For you folks that don't, hopefully you got some ideas on how you can save some time with in your business and help your employees also have current up-to-date information. So
and if you have any questions after the fact, if you want to know, can I do this, costs, anything like that, please don't hesitate to reach out to our team at Action. We are happy to work with you and get you any information that you need. We do have a question. When will 22.2 be coming out?
22 is probably, by the time it gets through this, we release it to, and then it goes through the whole process of Sage. I'm going to say 4 to 6 weeks. The biggest changes in 22.1 is it's a lot easier to create CSV files. We put a whole enhancement in there to create output files that could be uploaded to other systems and then help change quite a bit as well. Those are the biggest changes in because we just released 22.1. So 22.2 just has a few changes.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Dennis. Thanks for walking us through this. And again, please reach out to our team at Action with any questions for pricing or can it do this? We're happy to help and hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day.